Hi students, welcome back. Coming to the next topic in the subject, compiler designs was syntax directed translation. So this is one of the important concept. Let's see what is this syntax directed translation, SDT. So the main concept and the main definition of syntax direct translation is simply grammar along with some semantic rules. You call it as a syntax direct translation. Grammar plus semantic rules. Okay. So in syntax direct translations, along with the grammar is nothing but the productions. Whatever the productions you are giving means E determines E plus E1 plus E2 like that. So that is a grammar productions. So in syntax direct translations, along with the grammar, we associated some informal notations. So this you call it as an informal notations. Informal notations. So a grammar along with some informal notations like semantic rules, you call it as a syntax directed translation. So just take the grammar, whatever the productions they are given, that productions has to be added with some semantic rules. Those semantic rules are nothing but informal notations. So that combinedly you call it as a syntax direct translation. Okay, so you will understand while we are discussing the example. So don't be confused. So whenever they asked about what is a syntax direct translation, you need to tell that a grammar along with some informal notations like semantic rules, you call it as a syntax directed translation. So in syntax directed translation, every non-terminal can get 0 or more attributes depending on type of attribute. So just remember this point, okay? So you will understand while you are seeing the example. So in syntax direct translation, every non-terminal. So non-terminal means you already know that the capital letter alphabets, okay, that you will see in the productions. So every non-terminals can get 0 or more attributes. So each non-terminal can get 0 or more attributes depending on the type of attributes. Okay. So in semantic rules, attribute is a value and can hold string, number or memory locations, whatever it may be. So this attribute can hold a string, numbers or memory locations or whatever it may be. So we are representing it as a val. The attribute can be represented as a val. So in the semantic rule. So just remember this point. So in syntax directed translation, every non-terminal can get 0 or more attributes. That is depending on the type of the attribute you are using. Okay, whether the integer, float, whatever the type of attribute you are using. In semantic rules, the attribute can be represented as a val. Okay, so the val is nothing but the value is nothing but the attribute. This attribute may be a string, it may be a number, it may be a memory location or whatever it may be. Okay, so now let's see the example for the syntax directed translation. What I said, a grammar along with the semantic rules, you call it as a syntax directed translation. So what is that grammar and what are the semantic rules for that? Let's see this. Here are the productions. Production is nothing but the grammar. Okay, and the semantic rule for that production. So combinedly you call it as a SDT. So just I am taking the grammar here. E determines E plus T. E determines T. T determines, let's take T into F. And T determines F. F determines number. These are the productions. So what are the semantic rules for these productions? The semantic rules, as said, it is associated with an attribute. The non-terminal can get 0 or more attributes. So that we know that. So this semantic rule here, this non-terminal will be added with an attribute. E dot value is equal to E dot value plus T dot value. So just simply add value attribute to that productions. Okay. So it's because semantic rule is nothing but it's an informal notation. It's just simply an informal notation. So you can add whatever the attribute name you want, you can add. Okay, so this is a semantic rule for this productions. Means for this production, these are the actions. So this is a production and this is an action for that production. Just remember, for each production, there is an action. And here this action is E dot val is equal to T dot val. And T dot val is equal to T dot val star F dot value. And T dot value is equal to F dot value. Finally, F dot value is equal to number plus, you have to write lex values, L values, or you can take it as a lex value. So this is the example for SDT, syntax directed translation. So here the num value is an attribute returned by the lexical analyzer. So attribute returned by lexical analyzer. Okay, so this is an introduction of this syntax direct translation. So just a syntax direct translation is nothing but the grammar along with the semantic rules, you call it as a syntax direct translation. So semantic rules is here is the informal notations, okay, so which describes the action for this production. So in the next video, we'll see how to implement this syntax directed translation. Thank you.